Good evening. Hello, hello. Welcome to the, what is it April? The April meeting? I just got back from NEAF, which is up in New York, and it's like well, you're going to hear about it tonight because the presentation tonight's about things like NEAF. And it was 4 days of basically intense astronomy intensement, and I usually sleep for like 2 days after the thing, so I just got back yesterday, so here we are. Anyway, got the Robert Circus isn't here. He and his wife are on their way to New Mexico to dark skies. He's got his gear with him. I don't know what she's gonna do, but he's got his gear with him, or what they're gonna do in the daytime. But he's actually gonna join us tonight via Zoom, I guess, to talk about the open house that we had. So, get the slide for the hello. You got the slide for the or the slideshow for the agenda. It's the meeting agenda. No, that's the agenda that's up here. So there's another one. It's a slideshow that's I don't know what the name of it is, but it's another one that isn't what's in the sky or presentation. Nope. Wow. Yeah. I knew I forgot something. So yeah, agenda. So, well, that's a problem because it's got the names of all the members on it. New members. I tell you what, give me just, would you? Forgot to load some. Mm-hmm. Appreciate it. So I want to welcome our new members. Is Elizabeth Williams here? Or on Zoom? Dustin Reeves and family? James McCatherine and family? Greg Fair? George Potter? And Jim Carpenter and family. Hey, hey, welcome to the club. You want to stand up and say anything about your thoughts on joining the club or anything about you? So, welcome. You're in good company. I was just about to ask that. So who are visitors?
Mark and Julie Roberts. Tonight, acquired a telescope over Christmas, and as we've just discussed, we've learned how to see the moon pretty well through it. It's a 90 millimeter Cassegrain, not real big, kind of portable, but I need to learn a lot more about it. Like you were saying, there's a lot of questions in my mind. We've learned how to aim it so we can find what we're looking for, but it's just the beginning. But we saw the website, and here we are.
Awesome. We've taken a very big first step by finding the moon. Well done. I tell my dad that, he's like, there was the comet, which comet was it? It was like Comet Leonard or something, one of the bright comets the last couple of years. And I was talking to my dad on the phone, and he's like, I actually have something about that solar filter thing. Yes. Oh, you're a visitor. Here I'm going into story time.
Oh, some of you may remember. Not? Oh, yeah. And I got out of the hobby, probably 10, 12 years ago. Rather than get back in it, I'm looking to make all of my equipment disappear out of my garage. And so up here at the front, there's a list, actually 2 pages long, of everything that I have, except for my books, which I haven't listed yet. And feel free to take a list. My name, my number, email address, and everything's on the back. Local, remember, you don't have to pay shipping. You can come get it. Saves lots of money. Preston and I were just talking. He just shipped a 10-inch RC. Cost $450 to ship it to New Mexico skies. So anyway, lots of money. Anyway, glad to see y'all, and help yourself to the list.
Well, welcome back. Are you staying? Okay, so you're here to unload. Gotcha.
And I don't have any equipment, and I'm very green at this, so I apologize for that. But I did not know your existence.
Yeah, you want to talk to that guy?
Yeah. I already got one. There you go.
All right. Any other visitors? Gotcha. Thank you. So, wow. So without that slide, I don't have the list of people. So anyway, there's well, let's just skip to the history of the club. Which people am I needing? Oh, everyone that's listed on my slide that's on my computer. Right. I could stumble through it. I'm the vice president, and that's all you need to know, really. The history of the club been around since 1949. There's a lot of information about the history of the club online, so you want to check it out there. We are a not-for-profit organization, so all donations and such are tax deductible. Let's get to the what's in the sky part of the. So I hope you like the sound of my voice, because I'm doing everything tonight. Okay, so this is everything that's going on in the sky from tonight until the next meeting. next month. The Needle Galaxy, this is our own George Lutch's handiwork here. Nice edge-on spiral galaxy. So next slide, please. Okay, so kind of the first thing that's going on in the sky is on Thursday, April 20th, it's the new moon. Actually, while I was at NEAF, there's an astroimaging conference that happens before that called NEAC, which I'll explain to you in the presentation. But I met this great guy. His name is Dennis Sprinkle, and he imaged this, and and he gave me the secrets of how to do it too. So anyway, why am I showing a total solar eclipse? Next slide. It's because in certain parts of the world on April 20th, we've got a total solar eclipse. And in other parts of the world along this pathway, there's an annular eclipse. And this is an odd one and something you don't hear about all the time until it actually comes up, but it's called a hybrid solar eclipse. And it's basically riding along that line, because we're in a part of Earth history where the moon, its apparent size at times is exactly the apparent size of the sun. So when we have eclipses, it's covering the sun. We can see that beautiful corona that we saw in the picture before. So the thing is that when the moon is closer, and in past history, long ago, it was always an annular eclipse. The moon would never cover the face of the sun. So for many other reasons, including this one, it's a good time to be in the hobby because we can see such things as a total solar eclipse. So when it's total, it's covering the whole, but it's like the moon is like in a place where it's just like in between, and it's just riding that line where certain parts of the earth just aren't getting the full solar eclipse. So that's what's going on. I do want to say that for this one, it is obviously not in North America, but there are lots of sites, lots of websites online where you can go and you can see it live. NASA streams it live. Timeanddate.com is streaming it live. Basically Google it, and there's lots of places where you can go to actually see it live. And the great thing about these live broadcasts, especially the NASA one, is that you really learn a lot that you may not know, and they're talking about it the whole time. So it's actually really interesting, and it's always cool to see. But it's better to see in person, but hey, unless you're going to Australia, not this time. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the second biggest, this is the second major meteor shower of the year, the first being the Quadrantids. This one is the Lyrids. This is actually from a comet called C1861G1. And we get about 18 zenithal hourly rate, which is the maximum if the shower were actually at zenith. And the good thing about the Lyrids this year, as opposed to what seems like every meteor shower last year, was that this time is only a 2-day moon. It seemed like last year, the Perseids, all the Geminids, all the good showers, it was like full moon all the time. So we're actually getting a break this year with a young moon here. So next slide. Asteroid Iris. So it's at opposition, so it's closer to the Earth than it is for the rest of the year. That means the sun's behind us. Earth is actually in between the sun and this asteroid. So, you know, it's an asteroid, and it's, you know, be able to see it and image its motion. I know that when I'd featured Sirius a couple of months ago, with Sirius in opposition, that we had some imaging that actually showed the motion of Sirius across the sky, which was pretty cool. Fun fact about Iris. First of all, Iris is the Greek goddess of rainbows. And I didn't know this about Iris, is that the 8 named craters, because they've actually named craters on there, that they're actually the Greek words for colors. So there's your fun fact about Iris. Next slide. And the full moon is on May 5th. Poor moon, our least favorite moon phase. So next slide. Okay, so that's it as far as actual activity going on. So in this coming month. When it comes to the constellation that's really going to be high in the sky throughout this month, I wanted to feature Boötis, the herdsman. So genitive name, Boötis, as in, Alpha Boötis or Beta Boötis, as far as star names are concerned. IAU abbreviation BOO. It means literally herdsman from Greek. And it's an ancient constellation. Ptolemy was actually the first one to catalog it in a sky chart in the 2nd century. And it's got 5 stars with known planets. Of the named stars, you've probably heard of Arcturus. Let's hope that the recent COVID strain doesn't ruin Arcturus like it ruined such a fine Greek letter like Omicron. I want to associate something like that with a virus for the rest of my life. You've got Arcturus, you've got Izar. There's others that I won't dare to pronounce, but there they are. There's something about Boötis that I always kind of look forward to, and it's seeing the giant kite asterism in the sky, or the shape of an ice cream cone. So next slide, please. So here you see the ice cream cone, or kite. And like I'd mentioned before, the quadrantids, they're a meteor shower that happens in the beginning of January. They happen in Boötis. Actually, Boötis used to occupy, Boötis occupies a territory of constellation, Quadrans Muralis, that is not a constellation anymore, but when it was when this meteor shower was actually named. So the great thing about the quadrantids is spectacular meteor shower. If you can stand the cold, you can get 120 ZHR, which is pretty fantastic. So next slide. Arcturus. So this is the 3rd brightest star in the sky. It's an orange giant, and you know it right away. You see an ice cream cone. It's the bottom of the ice cream cone, and it's really bright reddish orange star. It's actually a member of the local interstellar cloud, or the local fluff. And it's basically what the solar system is moving through right now. So next slide. Neckar. So this is a yellow giant that's at the top of the ice cream cone. And the fun fact about this one is that it's a variable star, but it's a variable star called an eruptive variable. And so it flares, and it can actually, relatively speaking, brighten pretty dramatically in just a matter of minutes. So it's kind of more dramatic of a variable than you might see with something that takes hours or even days or weeks. Next slide. The Boötis void. Chris was setting this light up right here, and he was like, you probably don't want it down here underneath you because it'll give you a creepy look. And it's like, maybe I want a creepy look. I'm talking about the Boötis void. So it's also known as the Great Nothing. And next slide here. So it's actually the largest void that we know of in the known universe, or one of them rather. There's lots of voids. We're not talking about completely empty space. But in terms of the size of the void, is that on average, there should be something like 12,000. There should be a much larger number of galaxies. I should have put it in here. Should be a much larger number of galaxies. It's in the thousands. But in this void, 330 million light years across only has 60 galaxies in it. So from a mass density standpoint, it's actually really quite empty. It is said that if we were in the middle of this void, it would be so absent of galaxies that we wouldn't have known that there were other galaxies until the 1960s. So, next slide. Is this the Boötis void? This is a good reason to never, it's a good example to never believe anything on the internet. You Google the Boötis void and this picture comes up more often than you're comfortable with. And even astronomy sites will claim that this is the Boötis void. It is Bernard 68. It's a dark cloud that's obscuring just as many stars behind it as there are visible. So don't read it. Don't believe everything you see on the internet. Next slide. So then there's Boötis 1. So this isn't something that you can see. It's something you probably can't even image unless you're dealing with something in infrared and something really deep. This is actually a really little dwarf galaxy that orbits our Milky Way galaxy. And it was only discovered in 2006. And it's down here. It's actually one of the faintest galaxies known from an absolute magnitude standpoint. And yeah, there you go. It's Boötis 1. Next slide. So there aren't any Messier objects in Boötis, by the way. But this is New General Catalog 5466. It's a next slide here. It is it's a nice little globular cluster. What makes this interesting is the fact that it's made of a great deal of what are called blue horizontal branch stars, which basically is a part of the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram, where basically once stars pass the red giant stage, they actually have helium cores, and then they have a shell of hydrogen outside of that helium core. There's still fusion going on, but it's just a particular kind of star in that phase that this globular cluster just seems to be full of. Lots of older stars in here. Next slide. It's one of 88. And I had to mention it because it's an NGC object in Boötis. And it's a double star. And when I did this, I was like, God, I didn't know that the NGC catalog had anything but just like deep sky objects in it. And lo and behold, it turns out that there are about 88 stars, triple systems, double systems, even single stars. And it was because at the time that they were discovered, I guess maybe they didn't clean their optics, or maybe the lens grinder wasn't so hot on that particular scope, but they actually misunderstood them as being deep sky objects when they were cataloged. Next slide. So this is Caldwell 45. So next slide here. It's a beautiful little spiral galaxy. It's got a great ring structure around its nucleus. And there's a lot of starburst activity going on, and it's a part of the Virgo supercluster. So next slide. Then there's the giant arc. So it's kind of encapsulating this whole thing here is that Boetus isn't like Leo or Canavini or something like that, where you've got like just tons of like telescopic or even photographic objects and stuff. There's a lot of weird stuff in this constellation that really does make Boetus a very interesting space in the sky. So this is called the Giant Arc, and it was just in 2021, it's just 2 years ago, that this female student from England was researching. She was looking at spectra towards a group of quasars, and these little dots right here, the little dots, are all quasars. Here, next slide here, we'll blow this up a little bit. These little dots here are quasars, and there is a certain spectral fingerprint, if you will, that identifies when spectra is actually coming from galaxies. And that's what these larger blobs are. And what she discovered, see it here, is this big arc right here. And this arc right here is actually something that cannot be denied as possibly the largest structure in the known universe. Of course, those claims can be made, and the thing is that when these things are found, basically what it's doing is it's questioning the cosmologic principle. The cosmologic principle being basically involving just exactly how big a structure can be. And so it's just sort of a fun thing that's going on here. The thing is that structure right there, it spans 3.3 billion light years, and that makes it at 1/15 the radius of the observable universe. So it's a really big arc right here in Boetus. Next slide. So if we want to do a deeper dive into Boetus, the go-to websites that I really like, there's 509 deep sky objects listed on the skylive.com, and constellation-guide.com is another good site for all the objects, including the stars. Next slide. David Cox's recent image of Markarian's chain. Keep looking up. That's it. It's lights time. Is it lights time? It's lights time. Mind your eyes. I'm gonna creep in here sometime and install a dimmer in there. Okay, so is Robert Circus on? All right, Robert, it's all yours. Let's tell us all about what came of the Rising Star Open House event.
And it was just a great evening. We learned quite a bit about how our dark site works with a large number of people. And we have some lessons learned, and it was just a great evening. It was fabulous. The weather was just phenomenal. I don't know if Bill has the photograph to me, Ship. The aerial photograph early in the day. He does huge. So, and if I miss you, I apologize. But JD Martinez for all the material, the area set up. Bruce Campbell and crew for really doing a tremendous amount of work getting the Rising Star observing area ready for us. It was a tremendous amount of work, and if you saw the area when we bought it as opposed to where it is now, I like to say it's like the putting green of the 18th hole at Masters. It's just a phenomenal job. Michelle Thiessen and the development committee doing great work to get things organized for it. And I know I'm missing a lot. And again, Bill Hall all the day for coming up and things. Yeah, it was just an awesome time. So, and most importantly, I want to thank everybody that's in the club, because Rising Stars for you guys. You've given us a lot of information on what you would like to see happen in the future. And hopefully you came out. For those that hadn't been out there, and will see or saw what the tremendous opportunity we have at Rising Star. So I just want to thank everybody who was able to join us. And it was just a great day. And just to steal just a couple more minutes, I know Cy Simonson is going to talk about the bylaws in a minute. They're very important. We're kind of at a hold until we get these things approved and Cy can get some paperwork done for us. And then there's two other big events coming up. The HEB School District, which was well represented at the open house, and one of their students won the telescope that the Prunty family generously donated. They have asked us to do a star party at Pennington Field in June, and their expectation is of at least 600 students as for their summer school program. And some members of the board were looking at restarting the youth program. So you should start seeing some information about that fairly soon. And I'm not driving, so I'm not too worried about police. So anyway, that's all I have. And again, welcome to all the new members. And if you have any questions, please participate in the e-groups. You'll always get a response. And thank you very much. If there's any questions, I'm all ears.
Are there any questions? Hey, oh, there he is. I didn't even look at the screen. We can tell from the fading of your phone signal that you're starting to fade into the abyss of dark sight territory. Where are you right now?
Yeah, we're near Amarillo. We're going to stop at the Big Texan because it's dog friendly and it's on my bucket list.
Continue straight for 25 minutes to I-40 West, US 287 North.
I think we'll wind up staying overnight and do this. On our way to a place called El Prado, New Mexico, which is just outside of Taos.
Nice. Well, hey, have a really safe time out there, and dark and clear skies to you, brother.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening, everybody.
Okay, we want to have Patrick speak about our outreach activities coming up.
Okay, Hello, can you hear me? All right, so I got a couple coming up. I actually got one scheduled in Flower Mound tomorrow, but the weather's kind of look bad, so I'm not going to be able to see anything, but they still want somebody to come up there, so I'm going to go ahead and do that as part of their have a STEM night, so I'll go up there and talk about our club, show them the solar scope, and maybe I get a break. But after that, this Saturday, there's an Earth Day camp out in, I believe, Hearst. No, is it Bedford? Bedford, we did it last year. It's like an all-day thing, so I'm going to get there a little earlier with the solar scope. Anybody wants to help out with the telescope, just show up close to the sundown. And then next Friday, we have a star party for a Cub Scout camp. And then next Saturday will be the Tandy Hill Star Party. I don't know if John McCrae's here or not. So I'll just speak for him on that. So next Saturday, the 29th, will be our monthly public star party, Tandy Hill. So if you're able to help out with any of these, just let me know or just show up. Thanks.
And Michelle, do you have anything to speak about with Rising Star as far as development is concerned?
There's really just a couple of items that we discussed last night. I don't think right now we have anything ready to present to the club, but we are working on a couple of projects to go to the board first. For those of you who, especially the astrophotographers who are anxious for peers, we're working to develop a peer program, and we'll just have to get you more details on that as that progresses. Our next priority is to work on getting the fence up to put the boundaries around our area. And, oh, excuse me. This is going to continue.
Very good. So as we know, good fences make good neighbors. And we currently have a fence on the east side of the property that needs to be replaced because it's in the wrong place. Our property line is 29 feet to the east. And that's also allowing cows, the neighbors' cows, come onto their property. And then we have the property closer. Okay. So we need to put a fence between on the north side of our property to establish the property boundary from our neighbor on the north. So there's two segments of the fence that we're looking at right now. We've got a bid, but we need to tweak it a little bit. But it's coming in around $5 a foot. That's still a lot of money when you think about how much distance we have to cover. So we're going to take a close look at it, and then we're going to come and the mobile mic stand, and we're going to take a look at the bids and then go through channels and then present it to the club. Oh, and then the other thing I'd like to mention that I forgot last night, the commode that's in the green building is back in service. It went out of service in February-ish, something like that, but with the work of Tom Roth and Michelle, they were able to get it back in operational. I checked on it in early April, and it looked to be in good shape. Somehow it filled up with water, but it's a dry process, so you just don't add water. To quote Nike's slogan, just do it, and that's all you need to do. Leave. Just do it, then leave.
One of the other things we wanted to mention as we start looking to add the fence and the expense on that, and we knew when we purchased the property that we would end up with some expenses, so it's just a part of it. Especially for those of you who were at some of the work parties for the shed, there were several club members who were out there several weekends in a row, because that was like a 2-month process to get that shed up. And while it was wonderful to have that camaraderie and get to know everybody, if you think about how much gas you spend on a trip going out there, if we look at putting the fence up ourselves, we get to pay for the supplies, and we get to pay for the gas to go out there, and we get to have so much fun doing all that work in the middle of summer. So we are, one of the options we're looking at is the possibility of just having the fence put in by the same company that has done our skid steer work out there. And so just think of how much money you spent on gas every time you went out there. And instead of putting it into gas, wouldn't it be nice to just donate that money to the club so that it could be used for the fencing, so that we didn't have to do it ourselves and we could just go out there and observe? I think I think some of us would really like that. So think about that, and when you make that donation, let John know that it's for the fence, and he'll just sort of earmark it so we know how much we're collecting on that. I think that's all we really discussed last night. It's the larger storage shed would be the next priority. So that again will cost some money. We're looking at options, we're looking at sizes, and we're looking at costs. Anything like the fence and this larger storage building are not just going to pop up. Those are priced in the area where we will go to the board and get board's approval, and then we'll put it in front of the club. So the club will have a chance to vote on that if that's where they want to spend their money. Okay? Any questions? Yes. Oh. Yes, good suggestion. Remember, it is a tax deductible donation. And check with your company, because I just found out this year that my company will match donations that I make to charitable organizations up to a certain dollar amount. So double check that with your company, and that may just be a little way for us to get a little bit more money. Oh, no. No, Amazon does not do the smile anymore. No, they cut that several months ago, so. Oh, Pam has a question.
Do we have a list of club expenditures of what we have already spent on our dark site? Like, how much was that gate? How much was the man on the little machine who did the grading? You know, all of that kind of thing. I would be interested in knowing where our money has been going and how much we have been spending.
It has been very carefully itemized. John, is that something yeah, that's something John would be able to,
I'm sure
if
he doesn't have it ready
available
for
or-
us tonight, though. Can you repeat that? Please. Okay, which we'll get to later. One thing just wanted to put out there for those of you who are interested. Currently, our dark sky site is not open to RV vehicles. Okay, that will, if and when it happens, be further down the road. The way that the entry was designed, coming in off of that gate into the observing field, handled that large RV. If you saw it, Bob Circus's son's RV, he was able to get it through that entry just fine. However,
Out was different.
well, I didn't see the out, but when he came in, the problem with a large RV is you might end up getting stuck in a ditch, because he had trouble making that turn off of the road into the gate area. And that's an area we really can't just widen. So if and when we do allow the RVs, it will probably be some of the smaller ones. And again, knowing Bruce and his detail, he'll actually go through and have several people with different sizes, see how they do. So he'll be able to get us more detail when we get to that point, so.
I can actually add to that. So Robert and I spoke about that. I was there. Robert and I were there when it happened. And probably they'll just be discussing about a height limit on RVs. Probably the most significant thing that happened. I don't know about the ditch thing, but that the top of the RV rubbed into one of the branches of the pecan tree, that big pecan tree out there. So, you know, it's probably just going to be a height limit. We can discuss that maybe
And
with
do
the
you know
board.
how large that RV was, how long it was?
I don't know about, again, I don't know about the ditch thing. Bruce?
The truck was 20 and the RV was 20 feet as well.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll discuss, I guess, length too. I didn't know anything about the ditch thing.
And once we get to a point where we'll allow RVs, I'm sure we'll get all that figured out. We are not there yet. I just thought I'd let you know that once you get past our gate, you won't have any problems.
I do want to say something about the north fence. So our neighbor to the north, they are eventually going to be selling their property, and that's kind of another thing to consider about the timeliness of getting that fence in, is that once that fence is in, that sort of facilitates them to be able to make that sale. So, you know, kind of puts another sense of priority on it.
Yes,
Sure.
but I don't know how much money we need at that point. Ah, okay. But yes, I do believe if I'm correct, and I think I even checked it a while back, that we do have the right of first right of purchase on their property.
Yeah, they really appreciate us and respect us. Yeah, I don't think that'd be a problem at all.
Any other
Okay.
questions? Oh, yes. Yeah, and we'll probably do that. I do not know what their situation is. We actually have a different neighbor on the east side. So we are researching to find out who that might be so that we can also go to them, since it's their cows that keep getting into the pastures. So,
That was fun. That was the morning of the open house when the cows got in. Okay, so is there anything to be said about the Palo Pinto Mountains State Park?
Oh, just one comment on Rising Star. The hold harmless agreement that you have signed restricts RVs right now until we change it.
Restricts what?
RVs.
Oh, okay.
Palo Pinto, it's coming along still the same. We're still clearing out trails. Tom was out there a couple of weeks ago, and we've gotten one of the trails cleared, and they're doing final touches on it. So we're going to be starting a new trail over these last couple of weeks. So Palo Pinto is making progress. I don't remember if I've had the conversation with y'all since I spoke with he may be on there. One of the rangers who's actually out at Palo Pinto is a member of our club. I got the pleasure of meeting him at the open house, Jimmy Ship. Possibility. Is he up there? I thought I saw his face. Jimmy, can I talk to them about what we discussed about the old site?
He said yes.
Oh, he said yes. Okay. He is at least going to mention the possibility. Of course, they're going to work with us to have us do star parties at the pavilion, but he is going to mention the possibility of arranging something where astronomers who want to go out there for a night can use the site where we actually used to have the star parties out there, which was a good observing area. That area is not going to be a formal part of the park at this point in time, it does have a separate gate. If everything can go well, there's a possibility that we can perhaps pay an entry fee at the headquarters, and then they'll have a code on the gate that they'll just change frequently, and that'll allow the astronomers to perhaps have a separate area. Again, just a suggestion they're going to try to work with. So again, it's just a possibility to think of. And thank you, Jimmy.
All right. Well, before we get to the bylaw vote, which has been reviewed considerably and probably should go pretty quickly here, does anybody else have any announcements about or for the club? I have no idea. Does anybody know the answer to that?
What was the question?
Yeah, thank you. Has there been any discussion about the board putting together another trip for Three Rivers Foundation? Like what, September? Oh, yeah, I've never been, but I hear it's amazing. I need to go. Yes, everybody's like, you have to go. Okay, cool. Well, let's get to the vote.
Can you, yeah, pull up the bylaws. Okay, we went through this in detail at the February meeting. It was posted in the March reflector. I put it on the e-group yesterday. So we just want to vote on this in whole. If there's some changes, we will make changes in the future. Sorry. We'll make changes in the future. Bruce went through it and found a couple typos for me, so I've got those fixed, but nothing substantial. So I think, does anybody have questions on it before we vote? I think you all had a chance to look at it. We've gone through it a couple times. So, all in favor of, well, let me just say a couple things. The reason we're doing this is there's certain state law that we have to have written in our bylaws and our governing documents that allow us to get a charitable property exemption, so we don't have to pay property taxes. So that's where we're going through all this. And we made a couple little corrections. So that's what we're doing. And once we get this approved, I'll attach it to the form we're going to send in next week. And hopefully we'll not have to pay property taxes this summer. Even if we don't get it done by June, if they're going through it, they'll retroactively pay us back at the end of the year anyway. So we're not too far behind. So if there's no questions, all in favor of voting it as, approving it as whole, say aye. Any nays? Well, thank you very much. And that is the end of that. And once I'll make the changes, and then I'll post it on the e-group so you can actually look at what's going on. So we'll make those changes in red. To you.
Nothing like fast legislation. Awesome. Thank you, Cy.
I'm not saying it's legal, but at least it's done.
Okay, well, let's take a break for about 10 minutes. Coming up after the break is our presentation on amateur astronomy events around the country. And buy raffle tickets for tonight. I'll be getting started in just a minute. All right, you guys ready to get started? So I don't tend to let people know when I'm traveling. Sort of a kind of a good practice, not broadcasting to the world that your house is going to be empty or whatever. And I was at this astronomy event this last week, and I was standing at the ZWO table, which is to non-imagers that might not know, probably the one manufacturer that's basically taken over the astrophotography industry with their innovations and quality products and stuff. And here I am at the table that's got all the new toys. And I had to, and then somebody asked a question on our Discord site, Astrophotographers Discord site in the club. Somebody had asked a question, and I was like, oh man, can't let my boys down. Then took a picture of it, and cat's out of the bag now. As soon as I took the picture and answered the question, it's like the questions start flooding in. Take more pictures. Bring me home a camera. I think Christian Sensic asked me to bring him home a camera. So I brought home 2 cameras. Did anybody like the other camera? You, Jim, did you like the other camera? Excellent. Okay. Here it is. It also doubles as a keychain. I'll give it to you after the presentation. Okay. It is a USB camera. It's 0.5 USB. Huh? That's right. Don't you think you have enough of these keychains, Robert? Anyway, I got one set aside for Christian. So let me turn the lights out here. So what we're going to be talking about tonight are 6 different events that are happening around the country, around the year. The very first one, next slide, being NEAF. This is the mecca of amateur astronomy trade show and exhibition and talks and seminars. One picture says so much here. It's obviously a panoramic, so this poor guy right here's, that's not really what he looks like. So, but this is a 90,000 square foot gymnasium, and that's Celestron, that's Ioptron, that's ZWO, that's some retailer. Any brand. Orion never comes here. I don't know why. But any other brand that you can think of, they're here, and they've got all their stuff. It's fantastic. I actually went on this trip with a mission to actually build a solar scope rig. And I started at Lunt Solar over here, and you know, there's certain things about building a rig is that it's maybe not be all the time that this happens, but it seems like it's happened every time with me is that when you build a rig, it is not just one manufacturer. You don't just buy this big box and everything that you need comes into this box. You're talking to different manufacturers, you're hunting down specs, you're measuring things, you're talking to manufacturers, you're having to really dig deep to make sure that things are compatible, make sure that things fit together, make sure that things just from a mechanical standpoint work with each other. And I went from that booth to the Primolucci booth to the Woodland Hills booth, back to the Lunt booth. I went to the Stellafane booth back there. They're the telescope amateur telescope makers in New England. I knew that they'd have something to measure with. I was like, well, maybe I'll go to the ATM guys, and they, lo and behold, did. And basically figured out all the parts and pieces that I need to be able to put together my rig. And it's something that you can't do without having everything under one roof like this. And so that was kind of my joy of that particular day, is to be able to have figured everything out without having to call one of the manufacturers on the phone and say, okay, I need you to go back to the warehouse. I need you to take this thing out of the box, and I need you to measure the diameter of it because I need to know what adapter I need. And it was just all done. And that's, it's a silly story, but it's so, if you've ever gone through the process, you have no idea how meaningful it is. Anyway, this is the ultimate kid in a candy store moment. When I went here in 2018, I could hardly contain myself to the point where I had a leash on my backpack that was attached to my belt loop because I was afraid that I was going to set my belt loop down because I got distracted by another shiny thing over here and walk off and leave my bag. And there were a couple times that I found myself with the bag dragging behind me, and I'm like, I'm really glad I brought that leash. And they still make fun of me about it in one of the booths here. So next slide. So it is in Suffern, New York, which is just on the north side of the New Jersey border. And it's in April. It just happened. I flew in yesterday from New York. It's everything involving astronomy. This is not just astrophotography. This is imaging. This is domes. This is software. This is everything. Rockland Astronomy Club, we're talking about an astronomy club just like ours, started this back in 1992, and it has grown to be one of the largest astronomy shows in the world. I think there's one called Astro Euro or Euro Astro or something like that. It's supposed to be bigger. But you know, I'm happy to spend my money here. Registration in 2023 was $387. It's 2 days long, and it's actually free if you attend the 2-day imaging conference that's prior to that, which is what I'm going to talk about next. Next slide. So, like I said, 90,000 square feet of candy store, toy store, whatever you want to call it. They've got main stage talks. They've got astronauts. Let me see. They had the LEM pilot for Apollo 13, who never was able to do his job, but you know, it's still a pretty great story. The designer of the helicopter that they're going to send to Titan, Dragonfly mission. They had for New Horizons. This was back in 2019. The lead investigator for New Horizons. Anyway, I was talking about the Pluto mission. Don Petit was there one year. Just amazing speakers. On the small stage, there are talks that actually open up the availability for attendees to actually be able to give their own presentations if they want to. but there's pro-am collaboration seminars. So the really cool thing about this, I mean, you can start with observing, you can get into imaging. There's a personal goal of mine, which is actually involves having the gear that I've got, having the capabilities that I have. What if I was actually able to contribute to science? That's what they're talking about here. Lots of avenues to be able to actually be contributive to science, and it's fantastic, and it's actually more accessible than one would think, even if you don't even have a telescope. Access to all the toys, there's the literature, the software, the gear. There's a solar party outside. This year was a little bit of a bust. We had the cloudy days this year. But outside, usually it's solar scopes on this entire lawn, and it's amazing. There's planetarium shows, and there's beginner classes. And it's just this huge, overwhelming, exhausting in a good way sort of show. And I highly recommend it for anybody that just wants to go up to New. And Suffern's actually a beautiful little town. And the pizza in New Jersey is, hey. So next slide. So this is actually the list of all the vendors. I mean, well, it looked great on my screen, but anyway, it's those are all the vendors. So if you can, if you can think of a vendor that's not on there besides Orion, you'd be lucky. There's everybody on here, and they, like I said, they've got all of their gear. Oh, well, here you go. So, yeah, Robert Reeves. By the way, one of the things that I realized when I went to this is, hey, I'm in charge of putting together presentations for the club. I'm going to start talking to people. I'm going to go to this thing, and I'm going to start talking to people. I've got 9 people, including Robert Reeves, that are interested in talking to the club. So very excited about that. Another one actually happens to be Alyssa Pagan. She is one of at least this team of 3 that actually processes the Webb, James Webb imagery. Yeah, and it's cool. It is a cool story. Jenny Radenbaugh, she's the one involved with the Dragonfly mission for Titan. And Fred Hayes, he's the one on Apollo 13. Jerry Griffin, who was the one of the flight directors for Apollo 13 as well. This is the pro-am talks here. Like I said, there's a couple of shots with the American the variable star group, and another one that's actually measuring shadows, basically measuring occultations to identify shapes and motion of objects that pass in front of stars, and all these things that are really accessible to the amateur. So it's really cool. Next slide. So prior to NEAF is called NEAC, Astroimaging Conference, and there's basically lots of talks going on there too, but this is geared entirely towards astroimaging, but kind of a little more from a front end standpoint. There are a lot of technical talks in here, but there's a fellow named Ron Brecker. He actually writes for Sky and Telescope a lot, and he is an astrophotographer that's associated with teaching on a software called PixInsight, and he does this four-part series beginning astrophotography class, and it's pretty great. So next slide here. So that's 2 days prior to NEAF. It's about astroimaging, founded by the same club. Conference registration was about $350, and they're 4-night workshops, and you can choose 2 because you can't be in 2 places at once. They're 2 each night, and you just kind of find the one that's, but it's hands-on workshops. and it's really great. And if you register for NEAC, then you get a free pass to NEAF. So it becomes a real value deal at that point if you're into imaging. So next slide. So they have a vendor expo too. It's obviously much smaller than NEAF is, but it's all about astroimaging. They talk about technique, process, products. They've got workshops, like I said, and the cool thing about it, breakfast and lunch down here. It's like, why is he listing breakfast and lunch? Well, breakfast and lunch is included, but the deal is you're sitting here talking with professional astrophotographers and amateurs, and you just like talking shop for 2 days. It's really great. If you got questions about stuff, it's just great to be able to pick the brains of people that have been doing it or maybe on the same ride that you're on. Next slide. And this is what that one. This is what this one looks like. Alyssa Pagan. That's where I actually heard her. Dale Gent and George Helios. Those are actually both. They're developers for Nina, which is this amazing new acquisition software. Here's Ron Brecker. I spelled it. Ron Brecker, it's his 4-part series there. Dr. Dennis Conti is talking about how amateurs can actually assist with professionals with exoplanets and the measurements when exoplanets are actually transiting around their host stars. Richard Wright was there. Just all sorts of. Alan Friedman was talking about his solar adventures, and just a lot of amazing talent here that's really enlightening. No matter how much that you know about this stuff, you're always learning more. Next slide. So then there's the Advanced Imaging Conference, and I know this is a little heavy. I'm an astroimager myself. So, 2 out of 3 of these are astroimaging, but George Lutch, after this, is actually going to talk about star parties and his experience with star parties, 3 specifically around the state of Texas. Next slide. So AIC, it's in San Jose, California. It's usually in November. I think NEAC and NEAF canceled last year, and I think maybe that had to do with maybe their reason to hold it in May last year, but it's usually in November. It's entirely about astrophotography, and it is definitely the deep dive. It's basically NEAC times 3. It's definitely got a whole lot heavier hitters as far as astrophotography experts are concerned. It's a much larger conference, and the cool thing is registration was $387 in 2022. Of course, that's obviously not including these numbers that I'm citing aren't including like travel or anything like that. But cool thing about AIC is that membership online is free, and it gives you access to all of their talks, all of their conferences from the past. So it's really great. It's the board of directors includes a couple of names like Adam Block and Warren Keller, and those are Adam Block actually works for the Mount Lemmon Observatory, and Warren Keller is a bit of an ambassador of the PixInsight software. Next slide. So it's got a large vendor expo, and it's got product and technique demos, kind of the same sort of thing as NEAC does with the technology talks and processing talks. The seminars are all actually organized by the experience of the attendee. So if you're a beginner, there's a certain color coding with the agenda where you can be like, okay, this is definitely going to be way over my head. So, I can choose this, and this is a little more at my speed until I get there. again, access to the people that are driving this whole industry with innovation and its technology, and approaches to processing. It really is extremely enlightening if you're into this stuff. Next slide. So this is oh, they had Phil Plait. I don't know who Phil Plait is. He's a hoot. He's an absolute riot to hear. They had Trevor Jones. This is kind of cool. It's a little treat over here. Basically, the evolution of a backyard astronomer. He has Backyard Astronomer as his YouTube site, and he's actually gotten pretty big with just, you know, sharing with the world his adventure as a beginner astronomer through where he is now. You know, some more pro-am stuff right here. Stuff involving blending. Adam Block had a thing to say. Russell Cronin's talking about his new artificial intelligence-based software that is spectacular. More stuff from Adam Block, and just all sorts of things. It really is a broad spectrum of people who are absolute experts in the field of what they're talking about. It's a very cool ride. Next slide. So what I want to do is I want to turn it over to George Lutch. Hopefully he's on Zoom. Do you see him? Oh, good, because I haven't been to a single star party, and I don't know if I could get through this. There'd be a lot of our, audience participation. Do you have any slides, or are you just going to talk? Perfect. All right, it's all yours.
One of, you know, a handful of people that showed up for that event, because I believe it started back at that time. It's been in the same place for the entire time, at the Prude Ranch in Fort Davis, Texas, which is just outside the observatory down there, McDonald Observatory. I guess we'll start off with that one. That's the biggest one. There you go, the red star down there, down near Marfa and a bunch of little small towns. Big Bend National Park, Big Bend Ranch State Park, that kind of thing. Guys are getting better now. They went through a transition from being Bortle 1 back in '82, where you could actually read a book by the glow of the Milky Way, to, you know, recent years back in the 2017, 2018, where they had Balmoria, the Balmoria oil fields were doing a lot of flaring, and your northern sky was pretty much a light dome, and they've since backed off on a lot of that, and it's gotten better. So my trip involves packing a car full of everything that I would possibly need, and it's developed over a period of time as my wife has gone with me on occasion. If I go down by myself, I pretty much have my little minivan that I put all my telescope gear into, pack an ice chest full of as much food as I'm going to eat or can possibly get into it. All the clothing, you know, that kind of stuff. And normal stuff you take on a camping trip. and then you take the long, arduous 8-hour slog down to the site down there. Prior to that, you have to register and all that. And by the way, if anybody still wants to go to the Texas Star Party, I believe it's in May, they have reopened their registration without any kind of late fee. So you can still sign up to go down there. They have, once you get down there, you sign in at the gate, tell them who you are. They give you a sticker for your car, a wristband for your arm. And you basically can pick from 3 different fields. They've got a lower field, which is down by the road in the entrance gate. They've got a middle field, which is around the bathroom area. And then you've got the upper field. Upper field seems to be the main concourse for everybody. Everybody that's there usually walks through that place just to talk to other people. And the vendors are up there, so that's not a bad place to be. I started going, like I said, back in '82 and have gone off and on until today, or up to today. And I got really heavily involved with the vendors side of thing when I actually bought one of the mounts that Celestron was bringing up there to show everybody. It was a CGXL mount, and they just made me a deal that I couldn't refuse. But when I got up there, the guy that was the head of marketing or sales kind of tagged me and said, "Hey, my tech guy couldn't make it this year. How would you like to hang around and kind of fill in his shoes?" So I kind of just, hung with everybody up there. That was Skywatcher and all their group. They had Celestron, Explore Scientific, that kind of stuff. And it fluctuates year to year as far as which vendors are going to be up there. Sometimes they'll have no vendor, like in the last couple of years they haven't, just due to COVID and the like. And sometimes they'll have a full roster that take over a quarter of the field up in the upper end. But yeah, once you get there, you basically find your spot. Power's provided. You get to put a tent up in an area outside of the actual viewing area, which is on the inner circle of whatever field you choose to take. Let me see what else. While there, I will caution anybody not to use any form of light as far as bright light or non-red light, because they have a very strict policy on whether or not or whether or not you can use lights up there. Just to give you an example, my wife uses a CPAP machine, and she was in the tent with the windows shut, and the CPAP machine, when it initially comes on, goes on for about 2 seconds. You see a little light flash on and go off. And we actually had one of the guys that spots, for any kind of light pollution. He walked over there and said, "Hey, you need to turn that light off." So yeah, you need to watch out for that kind of stuff. Even bright red lights, they'll get you for that. But yeah, once you're there, you've got your tent set up, your car set up wherever you're gonna, sleep at night. They've got cabins. You can sleep off site at the RV park down the road, or if you've got an RV that you want to park in, Prude Ranch, they'll let you do that. They've got actually some that have water and power, so that's a good thing. They have bathrooms, like I said, with showers. It's a communal type thing. Let's see, they have an active shortwave radio group. So if you're into shortwave radio and you're into astronomy, that's a good place to go. Let me see what else. They have what they call Dob Row, which is, as it states, Dobsonian telescopes, and I'm talking huge 36, 43-inch Dobsonians that some guys bring on trailers and set up for viewing. They have, the smaller ones. A lot of astrophotography goes on up there. So there's that. Once you're done with that kind of thing, you basically at the end of the week, you'll pack up the stuff and head home. Make sure you take everything you brought with you. You don't want to have to, worry about leaving something behind. Sort of like the lead thing that Bill was talking about. You don't want to leave a really important part of your telescope up there because it'll be very hard to drive back the 8 hours. Some of the quality people you'll see up there, and you get to spend the entire week up there. I spent a week up there initially, when I did the Celestron tech support type stuff with Don Pettit, and Bill was talking about him. He's the astronaut that was on the space station, and it was interesting because you actually got to talk to him, have a one-on-one conversation. He brought an 8K camera that they were going to mount on the space station to test for astrophotography, just to see how well it would work in that kind of sky. Some of the other people, Ron Breacher, AstroDoc is his nickname. He does a lot of PixInsight. So if you're into PixInsight, you can go to astrodoc.ca, and he'll actually work with you over the phone or remotely to set your telescope up, help you get it set up for astrophotography, work with you on a PixInsight issue, that kind of thing. He also does masters of PixInsight.com, where they do live broadcasts that are recorded. You can buy into that and go back and watch it in perpetuity until the site disappears, I guess. I can't remember his last name. He's one of the managers of marketing for Skywatcher. I think his name is Jeff. Very cool guy. Kevin Lagore, he's the technical kind of guy over at Skywatcher, and has some interesting things. You'll be able to talk one-on-one with a lot of people around there. Some people, that have really great rigs. You can go up to them and just have a one-on-one conversation. One of the ones that was very memorable for me was a gentleman that was an engineer when he was employed, designed a Dobsonian telescope that had its own robotic sled on it, and he basically would have a hand controller, and this thing would drive wherever he wanted it to set up. He would basically stop it, hit a button, it would self-level the telescope, pulling itself off of the sled, and he'd back that sled out and go park it in his trailer. But this telescope, by the name of Elvira, was spectacular. The thing would do everything. It self-leveled, it found, whatever star, deep sky object you wanted to look at. It had a built-in filter system. It had the whole 9 yards. I mean, he spared nothing on building this thing, and it was gorgeous. You can probably find it out on YouTube if you do a look-see for Elvira, the telescope. Also, Will Young. He's a guy by the name of Deep Sky Dude on YouTube. If you want to see any of the star parties I'm talking about tonight, he does phenomenal work on multimedia presentations of the star parties, or a lot of the stuff that he does as far as traveling all over the country to do things. So go out there and look up some of these things. Another star party I've been to is the El Dorado Star Party, which is down there near Fredericksburg. It's in a small town, or outside of a small town, called El Dorado. There you go, big blue star. Bortle 2 skies. Gorgeous, hardly any light domes down there. The process of pretty much any star party you're going to go to is the same. Register online, buy your t-shirt so you can prove that you were there to all your friends. And then once you're down there, check in and set up. Most of these have cabins that you can go to. El Dorado has it, Texas Star Party has it. The only one that I don't think has an individual cabin, but they do have group cabins, is Okie-Tech. But yeah, El Dorado's another dude ranch type area that is owned by a family, has been doing it for decades down there. Phenomenal barbecue down there, by the way. They actually have a barbecue on a weekday prior to the closing of the actual event, and they do a really, really good job on having that social with as much barbecue as you can eat. You never go away hungry. But yeah, they have 2 fields up there. They have the one up by the cabin, and and the main house. And then they have the primary field, which is probably about a quarter mile down the road that you can set up where most of the people do. And again, at star parties, you see people from all over the country, all over the world. In fact, we had a group of Australians that came. They didn't bring any telescopes, but they borrowed the telescopes they were using from other astronomers down here. So they didn't go empty-handed. They actually had a lot of fun. So you do see quite a few diverse people. Fran is another one. She goes to the Texas Star Party and does a lot of presentations. By the way, that's another big thing about star parties is they have on-site talks, on-site workshops. As of the last couple of years, they've done a lot of hands-on Pixed Insight workshops. So bring your laptop. They'll help you process your data, or you can use their data and walk through that. Cheap compared to what you would pay, anywhere else. So yeah, it's always a good time to go down there and learn something new. And then the third one is Okie-Tex. Okie-Tex is in the panhandle of Oklahoma, and it is truly the darkest skies I have ever seen. It's gorgeous. Yeah, it's up there, Green Star, and that was my bucket list item there. I wanted to go see a Bortle 1 sky again. I had been to 1982 in the Texas Star Party, so I wanted to go back and see something equivalent to that, and it truly lived up to its hype. They have people from all over the country going up there. Again, you'll see. I saw Trevor. What's his last name? Trevor from Astro Backyard, and his wife were up there when we were up there. I got to talk to him for a little bit. Astronomolly, who is always on the Astro Imaging channel, she goes to those regularly. Again, Will Young, he does his multimedia with drone shots and night interviews and all kinds of stuff. And yeah, when you get up there, after you've registered it, you just go find a place. They don't have anything as far as electrical for your personal use, but they do have electrical for the telescope and any astronomical gear or medical appliances that you may have up there. So if you go up to Okie-Tex, be prepared to suffer through the warm days and the cool nights because there's no electricity sparing for heaters or air conditioning units or anything like that if you own an RV. What else? Always bring extra money, because you'll always have a vendor site that's not just showing off their stuff, but actually selling a lot of the stuff that they have. T-shirts, used items. They'll actually have a what do you call that? Like a garage sale type atmosphere, where if you have something you want to sell, they'll make a time frame on a specific day where you go up there and a swap meet. That's what it is. Basically, go in, bring your stuff. You can trade it, sell it, keep it if they don't want to pay for it. But yeah, always bring a little extra cash with you. The nights, if you're hungry, they will always have an on-site late night snack area that's open throughout the evening. Hot chocolate, hamburgers, hot dogs, fries, you name it. That's the kind of stuff that they'll sell. High carb, low fat stuff. But that's pretty much it. Since they're in remote locations, just be aware that you're going to be taking long drives to get there, with the exception of El Dorado. El Dorado, I think, is like 4.5 hours away, and it's probably one of the most accessible areas. But yeah, if you're into visual, if you're into astrophotography, if you're into just going out somewhere and looking through other people's telescopes, there's plenty of opportunity for that. If you want to find your setup as far as going out and saying, hey, I want to see what people have for rigs, what are the newest, latest, greatest type mount telescopes, eyepieces. These are wonderful places to go just to look, to talk to people, see how they like them, get an idea of what you might want to put into, your stuff. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell. If you're an introvert, it'll bring it out. You'll come out a little bit more. You'll be able to talk to some people, because I'm terrible at talking to people. Even though I'm doing it here, I've learned to do some, teaching and stuff like that through my career. I'm always an introvert when it comes to new situations and talking to individuals one-on-one a lot of times. But anyways, that's it. Anybody got any questions or anything like that they want to kind of talk about?
I've got one question. So
Yeah.
how are they as far as like generator noise is concerned? Like how do they?
They don't allow generators at night. They do allow generators from, say, 10 to 10 or 11ish in the morning till probably about dark. Just simply because people sleep during the day. A lot of stay up at night. Of course, this is astronomy, so you don't want to keep them up. But yeah, generators are kind of hoo-ha-ha'd. I will tell you that I use a solar generator, so I've got one of these giant batteries and about 700 watts worth of solar that I just pop on the ground, and there's enough sun at any of these locations that I can fully charge that thing in 4 hours.
Gotcha. Did you say how much it costs to actually attend one of these, like for the entire
A little
duration?
over $100, which is surprisingly inexpensive considering all that they do for you. A lot of volunteers, go up there and set it up and take it down and, run the thing during the week. So hats off to them.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody else have any questions about either star parties or any of the events that I spoke of? All right. George, thank you so much for sharing your experiences.
Anytime.
One of these days, I'm going to get to Star Party. Life keeps getting away. We've got an option here. We can take a break. We could take a shorter break. We could take no break. We've got a little bit of business to do, and then we're done. So, yeah. All right. The ayes have it. So, watch your eyes. Speaking of eyes. So, as far as the financial report is concerned, I know that John Geramini wasn't feeling well, and he ended up heading home. If we want to buzz through the marketing report real quick, the financial report real quick. So these are the figures that we have, balances, checking and savings add up to 34,000 some change in the accounts. No outstanding deposits. All expenses transferred from savings checking for the dark site. That's the building and the gate and the open house. As far as members are concerned, well, oh gosh, the number's bigger than it was earlier today. Total of 194 members as of right now. And that includes our honorary and lifetime members. The new members, as I didn't have in my slide. Go ahead and keep rolling up there. Keep going. Future activities. Yes. So, whatever that says. That's sir, say what? Still working on that. I do know that he had expressed to me that the membership term is going to be per individual based on when they join, I guess. or something like that for new members whenever they join, that their term of membership will go to the date that they joined, rather than just having everybody renew on the same date. Okay, well, that's it. So I guess it's raffle time, unless anybody's got any questions. Okay. I hope y'all like the sound of my voice, because you've been hearing it all night long. Hmm? Thank you, Nair. Okay, first ticket is 295-0590. Hey. New member. A visitor. Well, you know, assume the sale, right? New member. Like right here. All right. Great observatories of the world. All right. Next ticket is 295-0572. Hey. All right. By the way, I don't know, the books that they give you for NEAF and for NEAC, I actually brought up here. And also a ZWO new product booklet that gives all their new toys and a little brochure on new products. So if you want to take a look at anything down here after the meeting, you can. All right, the last one is 295-0554. Hey. And that's it. That's our meeting. Thanks for coming. Clear skies.